Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. We got Dre on from the MMG crew, and we got Kameron and Malachi from CP Excavating. Thank you guys for being here. I know you're bringing lots of marketing knowledge to this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we've had Ryan and Corey both on multiple times with CP, and I've been out filming multiple times, and you guys are like, we need to get on the podcast. We need to get on the podcast. And I said, you know what? I'll give you guys, let's go. Let's ride. So now we're here. We got cigars. We got whiskey. We got the whole nine. And we're going to go over where Kameron and Malachi started and what led you guys to right now. Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are pretty talkative before it started. And Malachi, I think, went mute.
We're going to roll with it.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah, we're ready.
He's been prepared.
Where does it start? Where does Cameron's story start?
Well, I went to college, 7 semesters, dropped out at 7 semesters.
Where were you going to college at?
Went to Northwest and then Graceland University, played football there. Was going to school to be a teacher. At 7 semesters, I was like, man.
No way.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff kind of happening in the world at the time. And I was like, there's no way this can be worth the money. And decided to quit. Started farming. Didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. And then you go to the PBR story, basically.
So
How'd you go from teaching just to farm? Did you just you had that lined up already, or was it just kind of like you fell into it?
Farming was just something I did during the summer. So then once I dropped out, I just started helping this guy that had been helping full time. Did that for a while and then broke my arm on the PBR bowl.
That's what ended your farming career?
It ended the career and started a new career.
Okay.
So basically the story goes, it was like the night before Thanksgiving. I had one of my college buddies up from Brownsville, Texas.
I think they write books like this. It was the night before Thanksgiving.
year was 2015. And he was up from Texas. So we ended up going out. We ended up at Power and Light. I get on this freaking bowl because my buddy wanted me to. And ended up snapping my humerus in 2 spots.
Not very humorous.
Nah. So have surgery.
How did you get to the hospital?
Okay, so the break happened, and I just come off the mat, and my buddy gets me to a booth, and he gets me a drink.
Because you're not going to look like a pansy in front of everyone.
Ended up running into like a physical therapist that was there, and they look at my arm, and I knew I broke it right off the bat because I came off the mat, and I go to lift my wrist up, and I can just hear and feel the bones up there just grinding. And
so you know what's going to make it better? Another drink.
Yeah. She was like, you need to go to the ER. And I'm like, okay, I'm not calling 911. I'm not going to be that guy. So we get an Uber. So I just chill out for a little bit, walk out of there, get to the hospital.
Did the Uber driver have anything to say to you when your destination was the ER?
I can't really recall that for outside circumstances.
You can plead the fifth. But okay,
because he was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I really wasn't feeling much. So I ended up just getting to the bed. I remember them pumping me full of morphine, and I lasted about 5 seconds, pass out. 5 hours later, wake up.
And you're like, you know what? Time to go to excavating.
No, not quite.
Not quite there yet?
I get out of there, have to have surgery a week later. Ended up just kind of just quitting farming. One of my dad's buddies ran an excavating company forever. I ended up helping this guy out, and I ended up doing it for like 2.5 more years. And he was a real small company, but it was owner ran, so he was with us every day. It was a single crew, and he taught me a ton, and then went to one other company and then came to CP. So every company I've been with, I have nothing bad to say about them. They all played their roles. I love where I'm at now. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So how'd you run into Corey?
Well, I'm from Bethany, and the company I was working at the time is based out of Bethany, but we worked all over the place. So we ended up moving to Cameron whenever I met or got married to my wife. She was living and working out of Iowa City at the time. We got married. We moved to Cameron. She switched to Kansas City. And then where I was at the time, I mean, I just needed something closer to home. That's pretty well it. So then Cameron, CP Excavating kind of just made sense. Checked into Corey, and all its history, really. Kind of hit it off from the start and ran with it.
Goddamn. I mean, Malachi, you wrap up your story that fast, we might be done in like 10 minutes.
Well, I don't. My story is not near that.
It's not
exciting.
near that. What?
No, I just woke up, started excavating when I was 6.
Ever since.
That's what he looks like.
I was a natural.
No, I mean, right after high school, I went to welding school, actually, and then graduated welding school. And really, I saw that the only great money to be made was on the road. And at the time, I didn't really want to travel. So I stayed at home, worked inspecting truck frames for a while, actually. And then after that, I had a buddy who worked for a company, and I got on there and decided to go straight to the utility side of it there. And then I was really grateful to start with a good group of 3 other guys, and we were together for a year and a half or so and learned a lot from them, and then moved on from there. There was 1 or 2 companies in between, and then I got linked up with Corey, and again, they've been great to me ever since.
Did Corey pay you to say that?
No.
Corey actually didn't tell us what we could and couldn't talk about. So
I mean, I feel like Corey and Ryan are open book when they're on. So
yeah,
I mean, they're not fearful of anything, which that's why I like having them on the podcast also. And I mean, I think a lot of people on hearing Corey's story and where he came from, things like that. And I think he runs and operates as a leader and a boss a lot differently than most people. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of respect for Corey in that means. And that's where a lot of times on here we have like the business owner on. And a lot of times I don't think we have someone on that maybe works for that great business owner that we get the other side of it. Like, what does it look like when you guys are working for someone like that? What is it that you're like, what are those traits that person has to have? Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of it in Corey, but it's like, I want to know from your guys' aspects, like, what is it that you look for in that leader and that boss?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
It was that good of a question. I stumped you.
What I really like about Corey is he lets you run it how you want to run it. He's there for advice and guidelines, but at the end of the day, he lets you take ownership for your crew and your style. And I mean, that's just huge to me because you don't want a boss that's just breathing down your neck and like trying to, just nitpick everything, So he lets you run with it. Obviously, if you're doing something wrong or something like that, he's gonna correct you. But that's what I really like.
I think that micromanaging, I think a lot of people miss that. And when you're micromanaging people all the time, I think it kind of breaks into that trust side, that the way you do something might be different than the way Corey thinks of it or the way he looks at it. Or same thing with Malachi, when you look at something, you're going to look at it differently and you're going to say, hey, this is how I think I could do it efficiently and get it done. And I think having some of that leeway, mm-hmm. where I've seen it when I'm out at job sites and he's like, I'm that's not the way I would do it, but he's like, I'm gonna let him run with it and see where it goes.
I mean, that's the same with Corey and Ryan both, and us with our guys. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing it, and just like them, I'm willing to always listen to somebody else's way to do it. They may know a better way than I do, and I'm always open to learning a new way. It's always about the efficiency part of it, but either way, we're all going to get to we're all working for the same result.
Yeah, I think you always want to keep an open book to creativity, and you don't want to promote closed mind thinking, where they just know one way to do it, you know. And then, like he said, it's just all about efficiency. Obviously, if you're doing something off the wall and it isn't efficient, you got to know that and, you know, go a different route. But
so
I know Dane kind of skipped over it, but what's your guys' roles at CP?
We're both pipe foremen, water.
We both run a utility crew, installing water, sewer, and storm lines.
So CP, anyone that is listening to this that hasn't listened to one of the previous podcasts, you guys are all civil side, right?
Yeah.
Plus the mining side.
Yep.
But on CP excavating side, the civil side that you guys are doing, that is majority of the workload of like you guys being the foreman, like over the top of your crews and on water, sewer, everything. I know that there's like, is that the same thing as when you guys are doing the pads and
no? So you basically got two divisions. You got the pipe, and then you got the grading, mass grading.
That makes sense.
So if I didn't know anything and I ask you what you do, you just say lay pipe.
This is where
I tried to not answer that way because it's kind of.
We're gonna get him custom CP shirts that just say I lay pipe.
It's kind of dirty, but it depends who I'm talking to. Yeah.
No, but like, what's like the over gist of it? It's like I know you guys do civil work. I know Corey and Ryan deep dove into kind of how like the buildings we go to every day, people just overlook what you guys do. So if someone like didn't know you and asked you kind of what your job is, how would you explain that?
I mean, basically, we do all of everything that happens there. I mean, you go to the bathroom, wash your hands, flush the toilet, take a shower. The water that's coming to you and the water that's leaving, we install both for that. I mean, and then the storm, all the water through the parking lot, anywhere it rains outside, the water's got to have somewhere to go. So.
And it's funny when I show up to like a job site and I'm filming and you guys are just like running like seamlessly, like it's. And I'll like ask Kameron questions and he just looks at me like it's just easy. He just knows what he's doing. I'm looking, I'm like, dude, I fucked this up 10 ways to Tuesday. I'm like, and you just watch how this like crew's working and just every one of them is looking to you for answers on like, what do we do here? Like, what is, and I think it's kind of cool watching how the whole thing runs. And we don't have other excavating companies. So it's like, I don't get to watch other crews, but I feel like it moves pretty seamlessly with your guys' crews. To what do you contribute to that? Like the management and the leadership that you guys carry?
That's definitely like the final goal is to get to where, what do you say? We got 5 guys on each crew right now, but it's usually 4. Everyone has a specific role with a specific task or list of tasks. And once they master that, then it literally, you could not even have to talk to each other and you would just roll and just kind of dig along and lay pipe and it'd be awesome. And it is sometimes, but
it's also like, I feel like if you're just running a long stretch, like I think some people think of like laying pipe and they think of a pipeline that's just running across a state. That's just absolutely straight the whole way.
It's definitely never like that.
No, so it's like when I show up to, they're like, I mean, all of this, it's coming out of this. What's the big concrete area that holds all of the spindles and
like
all that?
Vault.
Yeah, like the vault.
Oh, I was working on a vault when he was there.
Yeah, so they have this like huge vault with like all these things, and they have like 2x4s up, and they're tying them all, getting everything level, like running the whole thing. And I'm just like, it's way more complex than what most people think. Mm-hmm. And what goes into how each connector works and like the angles that are going into it, the grade that goes into it, like make sure water flows right. I think, I mean, Corey and Ryan, we've talked about, like he goes, people don't think about the infrastructure underneath your feet every day.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, people don't think about the blue collar work that goes in every single day to make sure everyone has water and can take a shower. They can take a shit. They can take a piss and do all these things. Everyone just wants to take those things for granted. But there's somebody out there working their ass off every day to make sure that's all possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I know that like you guys run as managers or foremen. Like what would you say like the hardest thing about getting into that role is? Like understanding when you first get into management of people. What was like one of the most difficult things you had to overcome?
Well,
I would say, in my opinion, it's probably more the different personalities of everyone and getting everyone to work seamlessly together. And still, it goes back to kind of everyone has a different way of doing something, and you getting them kind of lined out. And that's where, like, I really like getting new people that have never done it before and being able to show them the ropes from the very beginning. And
so
it's like
so whenever you get a guy that's been there
you get
doing
a-
it for
you get
15 years, he's gonna have his own, his own methods and means, and you got to treat that guy a lot differently than a brand new kid that has never even seen a track go.
Well, and that's like I've been in a situation before where we had a guy that has done this a very long time and a guy that had only been doing it a few weeks, and he thought, hey, I'm going to get down the ditch and help this guy. Well, about 30 seconds into being down there, he realized, I think I'm just in this guy's way. Because, I mean, he's on it all the time, moving, knows exactly what he wants, his next move, all the time, everything else. And this other guy's like, man, I came down here to help him. I think I'm just in his way.
Yeah, that would be a difficult spot to.
And that's kind of where you have to make the balance of getting everyone in that spot that helps everyone out, especially whether they know they've been doing it a long time or whether they haven't.
Makes sense.
You're not having to teach them to shake old habits. You're just having form new habits, essentially.
Look at Dre coming in with that.
Well,
That was actually a legitimate fact.
No, the reason I say that is like when we worked in the car industry, we would rather people not be salespeople before they came on, just because they were taught how to sell, and it's usually just shove something in someone's face and don't stop until they say yes. And it's like you do that in a smaller town, you're going to get mother effed anywhere you go in that town. So we were the same way. It's like we wanted to teach people like how to sell someone and not shove it straight down their throat, and actually have them purchase what they want or need. And then same with coming into the marketing industry. Everyone here, no one was from marketing. We're all brand new. We work hard and we know what people need. We've all sat on the other side of the table and had marketing people sit there, sell us. And then you're like, that doesn't benefit me at all, but that's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're bringing people in where it's like, hey, I can teach you my way, which is the way this company runs, the way Corey and Ryan have built it, and you guys have built people under you, where it's like, this is how we're going to operate, and it's either that way or the highway.
I think, either way, whether you take an experienced guy, they have their advantages. A young kid, they have their advantages. For young kids, you got to have patience, and it is. I'll be the first one to tell you, it's very difficult some days. But if you can stick with it, that patience will pay off. I promise. And then, I mean, with older guys, it's sometimes they're stubborn. It's stubborn sometimes, but
if they've been doing it a long time and kind of what we do, there's so many different instruments, so many different ways to do everything. And then they show up and we're doing it our way or however. And it's,
and me and Malachi are young,
whether
too.
we work with them and make that change together or they just move to doing it our way, however we do it, there's so many different instruments that you can use for grade and whatever else that you're getting on the same page with somebody that's been doing it a long time.
You hit on it too. Like you guys are both young. So what does that look like? Because I struggle with it a ton in the car space. And our marketing company is very young. I've had older people that are 20 years older than me come to me that want to work for us in the marketing space, and they've been in the marketing space. I mean, they've been at companies that every single one of us would know. I have the head of marketing from half the news stations in Kansas City like, yeah, we want to come work for you guys. And I'm like, they have such terrible habits put in place of like, I had one of them, I was like, I'm telling you about what we do and what we're seeing success in. And he's literally trying to like sell me on what they're doing is a better idea. And I'm like, you guys are failing. You're laying off people all the time. So how are you telling me that my way is wrong? I was like, we're the ones onboarding accounts all the time. You're the ones losing accounts all the time. And then it's like, so how do you guys overcome that in your space that you have some guy that's done it for 30 years and comes in and then I don't even know how old you guys are, but
Old enough.
Old enough. Yeah. So
We just look old.
yeah. So you have this guy that comes in that's been doing it way longer, and then they think that their way is flawless and they're closed-minded to the learning side and all that. What does that look like, or does that just not happen that often for you guys?
For me personally, it hasn't happened too often. I mean, I do have actually everyone that is under, well, besides one person now, everyone that is under me is older than me. And it's one of those things that, I mean, it's respect both ways, and none of them have been doing it a super long time, so it's not kind of that scenario, but it's like I show them kind of what I want, they show, and then we kind of come to that agreement, and it's basically showing the respect both ways of, you may know, and then we come to that end result of, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do everything. And it's one of those deals. It just takes a little bit of time for everybody to get on the same page, and it usually flows everybody's pretty open-minded typically. I personally haven't ran into too many people in our setting that are kind of the uptight prick that is, it's my way or it's not. So
yeah, which I also feel like, so if I'm correct, does Ryan do a lot of the hiring, or is it Corey, or is it kind of both?
Ryan does, I think, all the hiring for the excavating now. Yeah.
Okay, so like, I feel like Ryan probably wouldn't get along with that guy that thinks he knows everything.
Nope.
Just knowing Ryan.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that guy sits at the table. He's probably not making it through him because,
I mean, Ryan's an alpha. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but
I'm cutting that reel and I'm sending it straight.
Straight to it.
Yeah. No,
Stroke his ego.
No, I just feel like he's in a way that, like, he's probably not going to get along well with that person that thinks they know everything. Like, I feel like he's open to learning. I feel like that's how Corey is. And like, I feel like people that are that way, they gravitate to people like that. If I have somebody that sits down that just knows everything and they're not willing to learn anything, I can recognize that person really quick. And I'm like, they're going to be a pain in the ass.
Well, and I think that's where me and Cameron are kind of, I mean, we've both been here a while now. Both of us over 2 years now. We know, I mean, we've gotten along, me and Ryan and Cameron all know each other very well. We know what we get along with. Ryan knows that. We know what works for each other. And I think that's where the hiring part of it with Ryan, he knows, like, okay, this is going to work out with these guys, or this isn't going to work out with these guys. And it's not worth the time if it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And we've come accustomed to, between me and him, I mean, I feel like me and him are fairly similar in the way we run things. And then Ryan knows exactly how we both are, whether same or different.
Do you guys struggle with, because I'm going to say I don't classify myself with millennials, like, at all. Like, I hate being classified with that, like, group of people. Like, the work ethic that I was raised with, that Dre was raised with, is not equivalent to what our generation runs. Do you guys struggle with the hiring of younger people with the work ethic side? Because I also see a lot of times, like, with your crews, if you hire someone that's probably not a hard worker, they probably get weaned out pretty quick. Like, maybe not even from you guys, but just of the guys they stand next to.
You can tell them about that one kid we had at St. Joe.
Yeah, I mean, we had a kid and it's 18 years old. I shows up to his interview. I work hard. I can handle the heat. I can handle the cold. I'm ready to go to work every day. He made it 2 days. Mind you, it was 105 degrees outside every day, but he made it. Well, I guess a day and a half, really. But
went to lunch, never came back.
And that was the end of it. And that's kind of and that's where and I'm sure you've dealt with it a lot, the interview process. Well, I can do this, this, and this. No, you can't.
No one ever lies on their resumes.
So my deal is like, the funny thing is, since I've started a company, I've never even looked at a resume. I've told people, don't even waste the email, don't waste the paper. I don't even want to look at it. Like, I have fully hired strictly off of work ethic. You can teach a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't teach work ethic. I feel like that's something that people have or they don't have. And I learned it in the car business very quickly, that I could just hire people that just had great work ethic, and I could teach them how to sell cars and how to do it correctly, and they would prosper. Or the person that was lazy, that probably had a lot more natural skills to them, they just didn't try real hard, was never that person. They weren't consistent all the time. So I do think that's a difficult area in the world that we deal with. And I'm putting people in like an AC office and stuff, so it's not even like we're out in 105 degree heat or the cold. So I can't imagine what you guys have to go through on that side. But also, I think people discount the money that can be made in the blue collar space.
Definitely.
And I think nowadays everyone's pushed college so hard that, I mean, I have a lot of pointless degrees that are in our office.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that goes back to my story. I mean, I went 7 semesters, didn't end up getting a degree. I ended up going back and finishing online just to basically be able to tell my kids I got a degree.
What's it in?
Healthcare management.
I bet that works. That helps a lot.
First, I thought you were going to say teaching. I was like, hey, let's go.
No. So I just, I did it out of spite. Like I literally just wanted to say I did it. And, but I mean, going back to what Dane said is people have no clue in high school, like how many real job opportunities there are that are good paying that they could get starting out at 18 years old. It just blows my mind. And it was kind of, I almost feel like I was back in high school, which was 2011. I graduated. I ain't going to say I was brainwashed, but I mean, the whole setup with the education system definitely wasn't pushing, trades. I'll put it that way. And I think a lot of people will agree with me.
I don't think trades are pushed enough. And
I don't think they're pushed at all.
They're really not. And it's when I got out of high school, one of my best friends in high school went on to become a lineman, gets on with this national company that they do pretty much all the lineman work that a local company can't handle, to where he's rolling into the dealership. And at this point, I'm like probably a year from graduating college. And I mean, I don't have 2 pennies to rub together. I'm riding a scooter around because I can't get gas. I don't have any gas money at school. And I'm coming home to sell cars on the weekend. He rolls up in like a brand new F450. He's like, yeah, I just paid cash for this. I'm going to pick up a motorhome that I paid cash for. Bought a house, paid cash for it. I'm like, I think I messed up. I'm like, and he's telling me about like, he's getting a $450 a day per diem at these jobs. And he's like, that's me staying in my camper. And he's like, that's before I even start working.
Then he's like, I'd rent out 2 spots in my camper. I'd take half there per diem. And he's sitting there going through all this. I'm like, bro, before you start the day, you're making $1,000. I'm like, good for you.
But it's like, that's what you can find in trades. Like, and they're all over the place. And I had guys I knew that got into the crane operating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's then I have these people that went to college that are coming in, and they're like 5 years out of college. And they're trying to figure out how to buy a $20,000 vehicle, and they can't get approved for it, and their credit's shot, and all this. And then they want to talk negatively about the guys doing the trades. And I'm like, these dudes are coming in $100,000 trucks that they've damn near paid off, and you can't buy a $20,000 vehicle.
Yeah.
But you're going to say that guy did it wrong? Get the fuck out of here.
And that goes back to, I mean, coming out of high school, you're 18. Like, when I came out of high school, I went to welding school. Why? I don't know. I knew college wasn't for me.
Oh, I know. In high school, everyone's talking about welders can make money.
Underwater welding, man. Let's go.
Dre, I need that lighter down there.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew college wasn't for me. So I had a couple buddies that were going to welding school, and I'm like, sure, I'll go try it.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, it ended up leading me to where I'm at now, but at 18, a lot of kids, especially, you see it a lot more now with, especially like we were talking about the kids that they don't have the work ethic, they don't have anything. At 18, I mean, it's a tough time to decide this is what I want to do forever. And then you end up in college.
Oh yeah.
And then after you go to college or start college, you're already however many thousands of dollars into, you're already starting behind on a job that's you're not going to make in 3 years what you're already owe for your degree. I mean, it's
Well, they tell you when you go into college, it's like, hey, like high school, they push college, and they like during college, like, hey, just so you know, average income, like when you get it out, it's like 50 grand. I'm like, bro, what?
and you're 150 grand in debt.
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is, and they're like, oh yeah, you can pull out as many student loans as you want.
You guys put me in all these math classes, and the math ain't adding up here.
I did the finance. I'm like, is this kind of like the example you had where someone had a bunch of pineapples?
But it's like when
But
you
it's the same thing. It's like they sit there and they push that. You get out of school, and then it's like, great news, you're on a 20-year note for your student loans. And then you look at the person that just like straight out of school went into welding and just hopped right in. They learn more about 401ks, health benefits, everything, just because it's like you had that older generation sitting there teaching them while they're making money and doing the job, which I think schools taught completely wrong. We've given our opinion on that multiple times, but
look at the system that we're stuck in. I get right out of high school. I get to college. I don't have credit. Like I shouldn't be approved for shit. I didn't make any money. I didn't have proof of income, and they're giving me $20,000 loans every semester, like candy.
It's funny how that works.
It is. And then it's like, then all of a sudden I get out of school. I make a shit ton of money in the car business. I establish myself. I have great credit. I have the house, everything. And I leave a job and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go get a business line of credit. I go in there like, where's your proof of income? I'm like, well, I quit my job. I'm going to open a company. Like, I want a business loan. I go, I have great credit. I got money in savings. I got the house, like all this. And they're like, oh yeah, you're not approved. I go, what kind of jacked up system is this? Like, you'll give somebody going to straight out of high school all the money that they want because the government will back all of it.
Yep.
And it's like the whole thing is so flawed. And I mean, I think that the trades are so much value, and I think it's going to continue to get more valuable because college is it's being pushed so high to everyone, and that everyone thinks if you have an art degree, you're going to go out and like make it. And in college, they're telling people this shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's been going on for so long that there's so many people in the trades right now retiring, and there's no one to fill their shoes.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just.
I think the trades are the most valuable spot to be in right now in the next 10 years. Because how many guys are you out at job sites with that are in their mid 50s?
Quite a few.
Or even upper 40s. Like, you start looking at the next 10 years, like, I mean, I've walked around job sites. I'm looking at the average age of people, like weird things that I just pay attention to. But you look at the average guy that owns a plumbing company. You look at the average guy that does electrical work. You look at the average guy that is out working on a job site. You look at the average guy that's doing all these things. It's an older generation. And the fastest inflation in our whole entire country right now is college. It's going up faster than anything. And guess what? It's because the government's backing all of it behind it. Those loans are tied to nothing.
Yep.
And you can't get rid of them, can you?
No, there's no collateral. Like 7 years, you can wait out. You go through bankruptcy, lose everything. 7 years, your credit pretty much washes itself. The only thing that's not coming off there is student loans. Those stay with you for life. And it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it was.
We should be in politics.
And I
For real.
think that's
Yeah.
where a lot of the college comes in is people plan, they go to college and then they go party for a few years.
Hey, I did my fair share of party.
Exactly.
I was
But
good at
that's
that.
where the trades come in, different trades. I look at it like this. You go out, you go to a trade, put your time in, make your money. You've got no debt. You're making money. As long as you are smart with your money, save it, whatever else, then when you retire, you can, even most trades, you can save up your money and not work forever. As long as you're able to control your money and save it, whatever else, you can retire early. And yeah, you didn't get to party in college or whatever, but you can travel, you can do whatever you want for however long.
Dude, you can still go to the parties and not be in college.
That's true.
That's big facts. That's big facts.
That's pretty much what this whole podcast we just got to is you can go to college parties and not be in college.
After 27 is kind of weird.
Yeah. There's where Dre crosses the line.
Tell me I'm wrong.
How do you know it's 27?
I think 27 is pretty high, bud. If you show up to a college party at 27, I'm calling you a creep.
Hey, have you seen some of these?
That's
college
what I
kickers
just
these days?
said.
There's like 30-year-old college kickers.
I just said that. I'm like, if you're over 27, it's weird.
I would say even at 27, I'd say probably like 24 is
Nah,
probably
dude.
the cap.
Hey, they're going for their doctorate, man. Don't discriminate.
Dre, have them comment down below.
Wait, what do you think the age of cutoff going to a college party should be? You
Okay.
tell us.
Kayla, what do you think?
I was old going to college, so
27 was low.
I was 22 and graduated at 25.
Ooh, 25? I said 25.
What was that? Dane just went, oof.
I said 20.
Whoa, Dane.
I was saying that your number was way off. So that's where I was getting it.
But there was like mid-20s that would go to the college parties when we were 23 and we thought it was weird.
Oh, boom. There we are.
Mid-20s.
27 is
27's
upper 20.
upper 20s.
Upper 20.
Nah, that's
It's
mid.
mid-20s.
See, that's mid.
I meant
She
like
said that was
high
weird.
mid-20s.
So then it'd be even weirder if you were in your upper 20s.
You know what? Maybe 30's the cutoff.
Maybe Dre.
You know what? You
doesn't-
should try showing up to a college party, see what they say,
I wouldn't even.
and then
think
let
about
us
doing
know
it.
how to act or how it happened in the comments.
All right.
Who do you know here?
So
Back on track.
yeah, back on track. Yep, bring it back. Going into trades, what I know you got like acquiring a skill set in something that you guys become so good at. Like I look at what you guys do as there's gonna be no end to that ever. And I feel like that's a lot of times where I have the disconnect with a lot of like college stuff is like I feel like there's a threshold where it's like kind of it ends. And right now, like with Corey and Ryan, we were talking about in Houston, we were talking about like AI and what AI can do. Like I look at somebody that went to school for journalism and like, I mean, they're not going to have a job soon. Like as terrible as it is, like it's just, you went to school and you paid all this money, you paid $100,000 for this piece of paper that they just created a computer software that can do everything that you were taught over 4 years.
They say the same thing about artists, right? Like they could just, tell AI to draw something and then
It's getting better, which like, I mean, it's getting, being done at volume is getting easier and easier and easier. That I still think it has a long ways to go to really fill that void. But I mean, how far we've came in the last year, what people don't realize is how fast AI is happening. That when we look at learning curve of something being like 12 months, AI can learn it in like a day or two. To where the evolution of it is so fast that we're not going to turn AI into laying all the pipe.
that was my next question was like, I was going to ask Malachi is like, when do you think a robotic, Traco and crew could replace us? Because I think we'll be on the tail end of getting replaced.
Fully, I don't. I mean, obviously, right now they have all the GPS that you can put a whole job plan in, and basically the machine can dig it for you. But the placing the pipe, the grading the rock, whatever, there's so many variables to all that I'm sure somebody could figure out. But I feel like there's got to be a lot of oversight there.
There'll be like a D6 doing a whole grading job by itself, cabless, before ever anything on the pipe side, robotic gets put in.
That's kind of on our side is the work is endless. It doesn't matter how flawless you put it in. There's always bound to be issues. There's always water main breaks. There's always sewers clogging up or tree roots growing around something. No matter how flawless you do it, there's always something that's going to go wrong.
And you look at the evolution of our infrastructure is ever changing. That like with the KCI airport, in the beginning I thought they were just, or MCI, but in the beginning I thought they were just wanting to replace it just to replace it. I went to one of the meetings about the whole thing and we were invited to go to it. And a lot of it was actually because the concrete breakdown on the infrastructure side. That what most people didn't know is that building was breaking down. Like when they built it, I think it was in the 60s. I want to say that was correct or something. Like it was like 1960 or something when they built it. But the concrete wasn't lasting as long as it was supposed to. And they didn't account for it breaking down that quickly to where they're like, we got to build a whole entire new airport. And it's like things like that I don't think people think about, that buildings break down. Shit doesn't last forever. And then things are being built more cheaply now in building infrastructure, especially on residential side. But I think commercial is still a lot of steel, and I may be wrong. But I think things still break down. You have a lot of concrete. It has a lifespan to where as that breaks down, you guys are going to have to redo things. You're going to have to build bigger buildings. You're going to have to build so much on the infrastructure side that I don't think it slows down ever.
I don't think it'll ever slow down until people, stop making babies, basically. I mean, there's just the whole world's growing, and the more it grows, the more people make babies, the faster it grows. It's just a machine, basically.
It is just a big, huge machine.
And that, the evolution side of it is we work in so many different cities that each city has.
Trey just tried to eat the mic over there.
Doesn't taste as good as you'd think.
That made the weirdest sound. I thought you went like.
Definitely hit my ear.
Yeah. Go on.
I can get my mouth around that, Dre.
Yeah.
You should try. Show us.
No thanks. But we work in so many different cities. Each city has their own kind of specs for how they want things. And we show up on new jobs all the time, and there is new materials that get ordered for the job that, there's some stuff that I haven't seen before.
Every single time.
All the time. There's always something new. You're always seeing something that you haven't seen before. Different style fittings, different connectors. And there's plenty of stuff that out there that, we haven't seen. And people tell you about stuff and you're like, that'd be pretty cool. They're like, no, it's real. I'm like, really? It's always crazy how much stuff's coming out all the time.
So do you think in a lot of what they're implementing now, because I know so many companies and manufacturers chase the cheapest product nowadays, not always the best product. Do you think that is something that's happening in your guys' space, that people are chasing cheaper product and it's not as good when you're seeing all this new stuff, or is it actually better product?
Not necessarily, especially in our side, because industrial side, there's so many specs and inspectors, and just I'm honestly surprised that it hasn't slowed down at all based on the inflational prices that we've seen, ever since COVID happened. And it just seems like people are still building like crazy. And I don't know about the residential side. I think you got more leeway. There's more of a gray area where you got a bunch of different grades of material that you can pick. But I know on our side it gets inspected a lot. So
if you guys are still running top of the line, like they're not cutting any corners there. And I think on the commercial side, I don't think people understand infrastructure building and all of that. A lot of times it's just movement of money in businesses, that stuff has to be done. Mm-hmm. That when you're building these huge apartment complexes, those have to be there. Those guys have portfolios that are moving the money. Those guys they have the money to spend. It just has to, the money flow has to keep churning. Like that's what I don't think most people see on big money is those guys like saving money and putting money in a safe or in a bank account is not what you do with money.
Yeah, I got a really good example of this. I don't know if we can name drop, but we did, the Glade down there off 87th. You might have to cut this out. But anyways, it's for, I think like the owner, the original investor who built the actual multifamily housing was 21st Century owner. Turned out he only did that, and then he turned it over to another person immediately, like just built them, sold them. It was for a tax write-off because of Missouri. It was Missouri, that state tax write-off. It was like over $1 billion. It was like, holy shit. That's how you know you make too much money, is where you just got to spend money to basically pay, it pays itself in a credit tax credit.
Yep. And that's when
the Copper Ridge here in Liberty, I moved in there the first year it was built. And within a year, we only lived there for a year. When we were moving out, the entire 6 buildings and main hub were all sold within a year and a half of it being fully built.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times, like when people have that money, like the most people think people that have a lot of money pay a lot more taxes. That's not true.
No.
They become more educated on how to move their money and how to put it in real estate, put it in big commercial buildings. Like when you see these guys that just have billions of dollars, their money's tied up in real estate everywhere. It's not like you find somebody, you're like, oh, that guy's a billionaire. He has $1 billion in his bank account. Those guys don't hold that money in their bank account. It's stupid. If you dumb it down to $100,000 in a bank account, you look at 9% inflation over a year. If you just take $100,000 and set it at home or set it in your bank account, you lose $9,000 on each year.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to a lot of just learning tax code and whatever else. It's not just the people that have a lot of money that can do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to teach yourself what you can do, how you can do stuff like that. And anybody can do it.
And the thing is, I think it's hilarious that you're not really taught about taxes through school.
Oh no,
They
don't want you to know that.
They don't want you to know how to do it. They don't want you to be educated. That's not what you're being taught.
They definitely don't want you to know how to manage your money.
No, they want you to spend it. They want you to live paycheck to paycheck. They want you to be a sheep in the world.
Stimulate that economy, baby.
Yep. And it's scary that that's what our world has turned into.
It's like the credit card system. I mean, oh man, so many people get in trouble with credit cards, you know.
They give them to everyone. But I mean, if you're taking on cards at 25%, people's like, free money. Like it is. And it's understanding spending money that you have, but it's also understanding how to leverage money that like we buy vehicles every year. We buy vehicles for depreciating them. And it's fully for tax purposes.
And that's one thing, and it goes back to the younger guys and newer guys teaching them stuff. It's not just about the job. Like, you feel like you're just trying to help them in general. Like, not our trade more than others, I would say. But obviously in the wintertime, we slow down. So when you're working 60, 75 hours a week in the summertime, you can't just, I mean, you have to be disciplined with your money and be able to save it for when you're off for a week in the winter or whatever that may be. You have to be disciplined with your money and not just go crazy with it.
The one thing I will say about some guys I know in the trades and some guys not so, I've seen both. In the car business, that was a large portion of people we sold to. Is like, Dre and I, like in the car business, like the blue collar space likes people that understand the blue collar space. Like I don't dress in suits. Like we drive trucks. Like that, we grew up out in the country. Like that, those are the people that I want to help out all the time. And I think the financial literacy of understanding how money works and saying, hey, if I save this money and then I buy into real estate or I invest that money into something that then returns me money, like that's how you buy your freedom. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times that stuff isn't taught, and that stuff you learn from someone. And that's like, you can read books on it. You can read books on it. You can read books on it. And that's the kind of stuff I read all the time. But it's understanding how to make money work for you. And I think a lot of people never learn that in a lifetime, and they trade their time for money, and they never figure out how to take that money that they acquired and how to make it work back for them to then get that time back.
It's a sad story. Like I've seen older guys that are at the tail end of their career in the blue collar that don't, they don't really have like
they're
two nickels to rub together.
They're very good at what they do, and they make good money, but they have absolutely nothing to show for it.
They fell into a cycle where they just work till for Friday, get paid, It's just an ever-ending cycle, and it's like, holy shit, now you're 55 years old.
And I think that is one of the things that probably branded that space a little bit, are those, because I remember like when we'd sell trucks, I'd have a guy that would come in that's 50-something years old that, like you said, he doesn't have a lot in savings. He doesn't have he's lived paycheck to paycheck, and he's just busted his ass. And it's like, where does that end? And then it's like, but then I'd have somebody that comes in that's 32 that is buying a truck, and he's like, yeah, I have this much money in savings. I've bought this house. I have this house, and I have this, and I've invested in this. I have this much money in stocks and everything. He goes, I live off this much. And I'm like, damn, bro, like discipline, like you make good money, but he's putting that money in a place where that dude's story looks a lot different at 50 than the other guy that came in that spent every single nickel that he had. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that I don't know how you teach that more. I think it's probably just like guys like you that, I mean, those guys that are working under you are learning those things. Like if you could help those guys in those aspects alive, they become loyal to you forever. And I don't know. I think that's just a problem in younger generations altogether. I feel like the younger generation is also getting better at a certain portion of it, learning how to leverage money differently. That today's world, there's too many easy ways to make money.
There's so many different ways. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, obviously you know about crypto, NFTs. I mean, it's just a totally different world than it was for us at 20, you know, or him at 20, me, you know, I'm 30, and it's like, holy shit.
Like it was something that we jumped in on crypto, and I mean, we both made 30 grand in a month.
Yeah.
Like
then we lost it just
then
as
you
fast.
lost, yeah.
I was like, well, that was one heck of a ride.
But it was just things like that you could make. Like we're still way up in it. But I told him, I was like, we're putting money into these things, and then it's like, we didn't need the money at the time, but it was a short-term play that you put it in there, and it's like, think about if you were early into Bitcoin. Think about if you're early into these different things that most people are more interested in spending that money and going in that instant gratification. That owning a rental property isn't super sexy.
Yeah.
But one day it's going to be paid off, and that nice truck you can drive now that you don't have to work an hour to pay for, it's a little sexier at that point.
Yep.
And you can upgrade it every year, and it's still paid for.
Exactly. So it's like that's the difference of leveraging money. And I think that as that becomes more, I don't know, I think that the trade space gives you a lot higher income to be able to go out and figure those things out and streamline it even quicker.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, you get out of it what you put in. I mean, you go out there, you work hard. I mean, if you show up, that's the biggest thing. Work ethic and attitude. If you show up I mean, we spend so many hours a week with these guys. Like, and
we spend more hours with them than our family, like easily.
That is your second family.
You know,
and
but we spend more time with them.
And
I mean, it's just.
That's kind of what I was getting at with the younger guys is younger guys come in, they start, you spend so many hours a week with them. They're like you say, they're your second family. You want to see them succeed just the same. So whether we use our previous mistakes we've seen other people make, you want to kind of steer them in that right direction. Obviously, you can only do so much for somebody, but you want to see them kind of succeed and do the best that they can do.
They got to realize, I mean, once you learn just a couple skills and like you became really good at them, if you're in that field, you're always going to be able to have a job. It don't matter where you're at. I mean,
you guys have crazy job security. Like,
yeah.
And that's, look at all these people that are working for Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. They had 89,000 employees. Elon buys it, lays off 7,500 employees. I don't think anyone that has Twitter has noticed a difference in Twitter. So then I'm like, what the hell are 7,500 people doing?
Yeah, I've heard this story.
Like, that's a lot of people. Like, a lot. Like,
that's like a small town up north in Missouri.
Yeah.
That's an entire town they laid off.
They laid off the whole entire town of Maryville. So you look at something like that many people got laid off and nothing skipped a beat. If you came into how many people are at CP?
Altogether?
I have no idea.
Just shy of 8,000.
But it's like,
I think we're at like 80.
Okay. But say you have a company, let's just round it up to say 100 or whatever.
It's probably like 100 actually. I don't know why I lied.
So, but say you lay off like
truth comes out.
Say you lay off like what 70-75% of people. You think your job's getting done tomorrow? You think those jobs are getting completed? I'm thinking not.
Nah,
think that's
even
gonna
if you guys are running 24 hours a day, it still ain't getting done.
I don't think it's possible. So that's the thing.
I wouldn't have liked that.
No, I think that would be kind of a shit show. So you look at that as like, that's why I look at as job security. The same thing with Google's laying people off, Facebook's laying people off. Why?
Because AI, bro. Just
Exactly.
took all their
Like
jobs.
you look at these people that got these college degrees.
They took
AI.
their jobs.
AI's not popping in tomorrow and saying, shit, they're laying pipe. What the fuck am I going to do?
I think even on a bigger picture though, Kansas City is going to become just it already is. It's blowing up.
You need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, for us that have been here.
You guys are like, no, keep it rolling.
Yeah, we're plenty far north. It can keep getting a little bigger. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the same thing happen in Colorado, and freaking Texas is blowing up crazy.
Yeah.
And you know why? Freaking crazies from California. So
I know they don't like how they were running out there, so they want to come try ruin it here. But you look at our cost of living here, and your actual cost of living here, I don't think there's anywhere that competes with it.
No.
Like you have the city there, you have the suburbs, we have so much stuff around Kansas City, and we don't have the population like New York and LA and Miami, but you still have that city vibe, and it's the cost to live here is a fraction of what those places are.
It's because we don't have a beach.
Lake of the Ozarks is pretty sweet though.
Yeah, they go to the Ozarks, bud.
Have you ever watched
Redneck Riviera?
Have you ever watched a video? Have you been to like the pools out there at the bars?
Yeah, I have.
Redhead's my favorite.
I'm just gonna say when they throw a drone up above to see the area, look at the color of the pool.
No.
Dude, the pool's yellow.
Do you expect anything less? Have you ever been to one of them pools and everyone's drinking all day? Count how many people you see getting out of that pool go to the bathroom.
Dude, I'm just saying. After I saw that, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get in a pool.
You put like, I don't know, 200 people in a pool, and then all of a sudden you're in the bathroom and there's no one else in there.
I mean, is it,
I'm not gonna say someone here's peeing in the pool. They should.
Malachi.
If you say you ain't peed in the pool, you're a fucking liar.
I don't pee in public pools. Just Dre's pool.
I just pee in my own pool, okay? No, but I looked at that, and after that aerial view, it was on the news. It's like, it was like during COVID. They were talking about one of the pools, like it was open when everything was shut down.
Probably anybody that was at an
saw
Ozark
that
pool
video.
probably never got
chlorine level
COVID.
was just a little low. That's all it was.
It'll be back to normal tomorrow morning.
And look, none of those people probably had COVID. They're probably perfectly fine.
Yeah, we should look that stat up. COVID started in Lake of the Ozark pools.
That also could have happened.
Yeah.
Dang, I haven't been speechless on a podcast in a minute.
We were talking about how
We're talking about how Kansas City's.
I know we went just way
Rolling.
off. We went off to peeing in pools in the Ozarks. I think even Malachi was speechless.
I definitely was. It was. I do not want anywhere. I mean, think about the water itself, just the lake itself, let alone the pools.
I know they work with water all the time, and he doesn't want anything to do with it.
True. Yeah. I will say probably one of the nastiest stories. One of the people we worked with was a plumber. He was telling us about the person that always he learned from, and he's like, this dude would sit there and at lunch would never wash his hands and just go grab a sandwich, start eating it. I was like, no. He's like, never saw that dude sick one time.
Exactly.
That's
I was like,
He
what?
literally ate shit for boom.
Two ways of looking at it.
My wife's a nurse. She's sitting right over there, and she always gets on my ass about wash my hands. I wash my hands most of the time, but it's like, what?
She said, and you pee in pools.
That was once.
I only peed in a pool one time.
One night.
What? Oh.
For one night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
All night.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna end it with this one. We're coming. Where do you see CP going in the next 5 years. So I had to bring it back to something kind of serious.
What are you going to be doing at CP?
I couldn't end it on peeing in pools at the Ozarks.
I'm going to say we're definitely in growth mode right now. We're doing really well. We got a lot of work lined up. What happens outside of CP and politically is going to steer us probably in a certain way. But everything's looking good as far as what we can control. And that's pretty well all I got to say about that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of on the same page. We're in growth mode right now. I mean, between us two, we've got a really solid group of guys right now. And we've got a lot lined up for us. And at the rate, I mean, as long as everything kind of stays on track the way it is, like you said, politically, and how everyone is planning out building stuff and whatever else, I mean, I think the next 5 years looks pretty good for us.
I think as long as the infrastructure keeps scaling in Kansas City, which I think even if things happen economy-wise, I think Kansas City and the Midwest will feel it the least. I think you definitely feel it harder on the coast. I think the Midwest always has lowest impact. But
we lag here.
Oh yeah,
we're about 5-10 years behind.
We're so far
everyone
behind.
else.
Yeah, I mean, even through COVID and even the last few years when everyone else has kind of been on their own, we've stayed steady, definitely.
Yeah, we definitely have more work than we can even. We're handling it fine, but I mean, we could work probably as much as we wanted to for like maybe the next year. Honestly, like we got plenty.
That's a great spot to be standing in.
It is.
And
it is.
I think
as much as we like to bitch, it's a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, don't get us wrong. We bitch a lot, but
hey, there's only.
But I would say we both got it pretty good. I mean,
there's only something wrong when we quit bitching. So
yeah, makes sense.
When you tell Corey or Ryan, you're like, "Nah, it's all good." They're like, "Nah, something's up."
Something's up.
When we get quiet, yeah.
So, any final thoughts for the podcast? Anything you want to get out there?
I mean, I just like to say all them young people out there is, if you don't know what you want to do after school or anything, just, try the trades out or at least look into it. And that doesn't have to be with CP, just in general. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And you never know. Like I said, I was 7 semesters. I was going to be a teacher, fell in the trade, started operating, love it. I mean, it'll be a sad day whenever I stop operating Traco. I really like just operating equipment. Who knows, that could be you. So just keep an open mind. If you want to go 4 years in school, that's fine too. But at least look into it. That's all I got.
And that's kind of my thought for the younger guys. Trying out trades, especially when you're younger, just because you try something out, you're not tied to it. Try something else. If you don't like it, try something else. I mean, there is more than enough work out there for everybody to do. If you find something you like, stick with it. If you don't like it, there's plenty other trades out there, and everybody is looking for good help. I mean, that's in any trade.
There should just be like a fuck around phase for the next 2 years after high school where every kid could just go try whatever they wanted to, drop it if they don't like it, pick up the next thing and go.
Yeah.
Hey, from 18 to 22, you can still rebound.
You still can rebound in your 30s.
Yeah, you can still rebound today.
Yeah.
But it's like you can sit there, try something else out, and if you don't like it, rebound, try to pick something else up.
Yep.
It's never too late to stop learning.
So I'm gonna tell anybody, if you've made it to this point in the podcast, you're interested in the trades, you're interested in working with these two, feel free to reach out. We're gonna tag all of CP's links under here. And then you'll be seeing reels pop up on Instagram and Facebook with these two tagged in them also. Reach out to one of them, Ryan, Corey, try to get involved. So very, very thankful for having you guys on.
Yep.
It's been great.
It's good being on here. Appreciate it.
So, any final thoughts from you down there, Dre?
If you're in a pool, don't pee in it. I'd get out, go to the bathroom, be a genuine person to society.
Final thoughts from Dre. So that's going to be the M3 podcast.
That's horrible.
Peace.
How did you do me like that?
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.